Welcome to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn. No Simon Provan this week. Simon is off in the great outdoors with his family. They are up in upper state Wisconsin. For those of you that know where that is, they're hunting and fishing and doing all kinds of fun family activities together. But we definitely miss Simon and wish him the best as he is off this weekend. But we hope to have him back next week. It'll be good to have him back. We always love his insights on the show. And for those of you that tuned in last week, you heard he was very riled up after the United States lost to Jamaica in the Gold Cup semifinals. He was ranting about Jurgen Klinsmann. He was saying he should be fired. And I barely got a word in last week because of how fired up he was. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good show as a whole, and always a pleasure to be able to talk with him. And we appreciate all the support that we keep getting from all of you, our lovely listeners. Remember, you can check us out on Sports Radio America from 3 to 6 Eastern on Fridays on Live 365 and TuneIn. You can download our show on iTunes, and you can listen to us on demand anytime you want on Spreaker.com and on iHeartRadio as well. You can watch us on Periscope. So for those of you watching us on Periscope, big thank you to all of you. Hello, huddled masses as you are out there. We appreciate all of you listening in and watching at the same time. And you can also check us out on social media as well, on Facebook at 2UpFront, and then on Twitter at 2UpFrontSoccer as well. We've got a lot of fun things to talk about. We will be joined later on in the show by Real Monarchs midfielder Alex Sundley, a good friend of mine from the he used to play for the New England Revolution, and then he was transferred over to Real Monarchs in the USL. And we'll be joined later on in the show as well by VAVLA USA Soccer Division editor Chris Blakely to talk about the MLS All-Star game. The MLS All-Stars getting a 2-1 victory last night against the Tottenham Hotspurs. Now, it's one thing to talk about it from an American perspective, and you can find all of the American perspectives on MLSsoccer.com and the hundreds of sites that talk about just how great Major League Soccer is. But it's a different type of game when you travel across the pond and actually have the chance to speak with a true British man. And I figured since we couldn't have Simon Provan on this week, we would have Simon Mitchell on. Simon is a good friend of mine from England, and he is a diehard Tottenham Hotspurs fan. So who better to talk about the Spurs than one of their loyalist fans to ever exist? Simon, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Baxter. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm wonderful. You're saying good morning. What time is it over there for the listeners there that are tuning in?
Right now in the UK, it is 2:05 in the morning.
Oh my gosh, 2:05 a.m. and here you are speaking to me. I feel very honored, sir. Thank you so much.
No, delighted to be here.
Wow, we appreciate it, Simon. For those that don't know, tell us a little bit about your diehard loyal passion that is a Spurs fan, sir.
Well, I've supported Tottenham as a full-blown supporter since around 1990.
Oh my goodness.
But my father has supported Tottenham since the mid to late 60s. So between us as a father and son, we've supported Tottenham for the last 50 years.
My goodness. So it's been a family affair, as it were, you'd say. Oop, are you still there? I think I lost you. You there?
Sorry, I'm still here. I have a little bit of interference.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I bumped something on my end. But as I was saying, it's the love for Tottenham seems to be a bit of a family affair as a whole. I mean, you said you follow it, your family follows it. Do your children follow it? Are you hoping to pass that on to them?
My eldest daughter enjoys going. She's been once. We took her down to the Schalke friendly before the start of last season.
Okay.
It's still. She's only 9, my oldest daughter, so it's still not quite right to take her all the time, but I'd like to take her more often this coming season. But with I live in Norwich, which is 150 miles away from Tottenham, or 180 kilometres, and living in Norwich and Norwich City being promoted back to the Premier League means that I can take her just down the road when Tottenham come to visit.
Ah, perfect, because now that they are back in the Premier League, they'll see each other at least, 2 times this year or just once?
Well, they'll see each other once at Carrow Road in Norwich, and they'll see each other at White Hart Lane as well.
Fantastic. Now, how long have you lived in Norwich? How are you not a Norwich City fan, or are they kind of like your second team?
I've lived in Norwich. I met my wife almost 15 years ago, and I moved to Norwich then.
Okay.
But I've lived within the region almost all my life. But my dad was a Tottenham fan.
Of course.
So I'm a Tottenham fan.
Fair enough.
Because he's from Scotland and I'm from Yorkshire. That's where I was born.
How's the pudding?
The Yorkshire pudding, well, it's good. It depends on who cooks it, but
of course,
it's always good. But it's really my dad's influence. So that's why I don't support Norwich, and it's a very British thing to have just the one team.
I was going to ask is because in America, it's very common to support more than one team, especially within, either it's American football or basketball or even soccer. I mean, I support one MLS club very...
Hello?
Oh, hello, are you still there? Did I lose you? Simon?
Hi, I'm still here. We keep picking up interference.
I don't know what's going on. They're trying to. It's the tin can we're holding from Wisconsin to England is having issues apparently. I don't know what's going on.
I think we need to tighten the string a little bit.
I think so. Tighten a little bit more. Well, anyways, Simon, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. But like I mentioned, we want to talk to you about the Tottenham Hotspurs and the 2015 MLS All-Star Game that took place last night. You, as a Hotspurs or Spurs fan. How do you view the 2-1 loss last night to Major League Soccer's All-Stars?
Well, from a Tottenham point of view, I don't think the result means too much to us. I believe the most important thing was the performance,
Absolutely.
Integrating some of the new players, some of the young players who maybe have been in and around the first team, giving them an opportunity to play was the most important thing.
Did you get a chance to witness Harry Kane's wonderful goal that he scored?
Well, when you asked me to come on, I kind of felt obliged to stay up and watch the game. So I was up at 2 a.m., or I think it was about 1:30 yesterday morning to watch the game.
My goodness.
And fell asleep. And then decided to re-watch the game this evening.
Okay.
And fell asleep.
Oh, my gosh.
I'll be honest, I've missed the last 10 minutes of
the
game. But from what I can gather, the most important part of the game is the first half, I think.
It was, yes. It was 2-1 going into halftime, and there was not much. And that's usually how all-star games work for the most part, at least here in America. Both sides usually try relatively hard in the first half, and then after that, put in the subs, put in the lower people, and just, whatever happens. But it's hard to deny the beauty of the goal that did come from Harry Kane, and you heard the announcers say it, and just the buzz around social media after that game too, is that was a very Harry Kane thing to do. That type of goal, the way he attacked the defenders, and then the way he just picked his head up for a half a second, was like, oh, there's the goal, boom, and then the ball was in the back of the net before the goalkeeper even had an opportunity to move.
Yeah, and who is Nick Rimando? Who is this guy? He seems to be about 5'0".
That's a fair describe of him. Yeah,
he's built like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. he's the most anti-looking goalkeeper you would ever come across. Yet put in a world-class performance in the first 45 minutes.
He did.
It was unreal.
I'm
surprised we managed to score past him.
I was absolutely shocked with how well, because of the highlights and just everything, the way that Tottenham was really kind of pouring it on throughout the first half. There were multiple times where Spurs should have been up 3-2, 4-2, even 5-2 at certain points, but the fact that they were able to be turned away by Nick Rimando. He's, for a background for you, Nick Rimando plays for a team in Major League Soccer called Real Salt Lake. He has been one of those staple goalkeepers in Major League Soccer for probably 10 years. Think of a well-known goalkeeper in the EPL, and that's kind of how he requires. He's kind of that same guy. He's on the U.S. men's national team, but doesn't really ever see the run of play unless it's maybe a friendly. But he's probably our third or fourth best goalkeeper by the U.S. standards.
Okay, no, he put in a very, very good, very, very good performance. But going back to Kane's goal, Harry Kane scored 31 goals for Tottenham last season. He scored with his right foot, his left foot, his head, inside the box, outside the box. He's very much a complete striker. And the goal that he scored, I was pleased that he scored it in the arena in which he did. I'm pleased that he scored it in pre-season, and I'm pleased that he scored it against the MLS All-Stars. As I think I alluded to you guys on Facebook, is that this is very much a commercial enterprise for Tottenham.
Absolutely.
We've had good tie-ins with American soccer for many years. We've had Casey Keller as a goalkeeper. We've had Brad Friedel as a goalkeeper. We've had Clint Dempsey. We've got DeAndre Yedlin.
Yes.
Jurgen Klinsmann is a club legend, and he's the manager of your national team. Brad Friedel is now a ambassador to the US for Tottenham. So we have a very close relationship with the country from a playing aspect. Again, Robbie Keane playing for the Galaxy, played for Tottenham for many years as well.
I love Robbie Keane. Big Robbie Keane fan.
Just a very quick note on Robbie Keane.
Yes.
In Norwich, I was coming back from my sister's this evening with my wife. I dropped my girls off there for the weekend because we're both at work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big billboard in Norwich. It's Sky Sports, where all of the EPL games are shown. And It's showing 23 years of football on Sky Sports. This great big picture of Robbie Keane in his Tottenham kit after we won the League Cup back in 2008 against Chelsea. It gave me a smile that I'm in Norwich and there's a big picture of Robbie Keane.
That is classic. I love it. I love that his legend still lives on.
Oh, very, very, very much so. Even at Tottenham.
Absolutely.
Even at Tottenham. He was a character as well as a brilliant goal scorer. But yeah, no, going back to Harry Kane, I'm pleased that he scored in the arena that he did, and it was a goal. Very little backlift. He didn't sprint through. He didn't try anything fancy. He shifted the ball to the right side of the edge of the box so he could take his shot. Just, summed up what Harry Kane did all last year. And I hope that it continues next season.
And that's a good segue for me, too, because I was going to ask, now that we've seen a glimpse of what Tottenham is preparing for this upcoming season. Last year they finished 5th in the table in the English Premier League. They tallied 19 wins, 7 draws, and 12 losses. How do you feel about the club moving forward?
I'm always supporting Tottenham. You're forever the pessimist.
Of course.
You always expect the worst, and normally Tottenham have a habit of delivering. I'm pleased that I read yesterday that we've got the youngest average age of a squad in the Premier League.
That definitely helps, yes.
It's good to see that there's future development, and Tottenham have got a history of giving a manager a year or 18 months and then sacking them and then starting again.
Yes.
I think the most important thing for me this year is that Pochettino has managed to shift out almost 17 players. Another thing I was looking at yesterday, we've sold or released 17 players this summer.
My goodness, that's very unheard of, at least in all soccer.
It's unbelievable. And when you see some of the players that have gone, you even forgot that they were there. It's unbelievable. We've not brought in too many. Alderweireld and Wimmer and Trippier were the 3 that we've signed.
Mm-hmm.
All defenders.
Rightfully so. And you just got rid of a defender as well. You just sent off a defender to Napoli as well. Is that correct?
Vlad Kirikesh. If you could call him a defender. I've seen milk turn quicker.
Goodness.
He was another player. If you go back a couple of years, we sold Gareth Bale to Real Madrid for £86.5 million.
Yes.
And we signed 7 players, none of whom had ever played football in the Premier League. And you could probably say that only 2, Nasser Chadli and Christian Eriksen, have been any good.
Christian Eriksen especially, I feel like, out of those 2.
Christian Eriksen, yeah, he's he is a touch of class. But the Vlad Kirikesh is possibly one of the worst defenders that I have ever seen play football.
Wow.
It's probably a better defender for the Italian league. It's a much slower league. You get much more time on the ball.
Very true, yes.
The Premier League is fast. It's very, very tough. It's strong. And it goes from minute 0 to minute 93, 94 without stopping. Doesn't slow down. You don't get time on the ball. And that's why a player like Angel Di Maria at Manchester United, who likes to have a bit of time on the ball, has struggled. That's why I think a player like Bastian Schweinsteiger at Manchester United now could potentially struggle in the Premier League.
Ooh, that's a good point now that you mentioned that. Yeah, because of how the Bundesliga plays, they're very much, that's kind of how the German national team as a whole plays. They're very monotonous with their passing, pass, 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 not too many quick runs, not too much speed with their attack, but they just pick you apart with their passes. And you raise a very good point about that, especially with how quickly EPL play is. So that's a good thing to keep an eye on now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's the most important thing, and we're talking about Tottenham moving forwards, and I'm the guy that sits here and says, well, look who scored the goals in the Premier League last season.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Sergio Aguero, Harry Kane, Diego Costa. Are these players achievable to purchase for Tottenham? No. Who else scored goals? Charlie Austin, who was at Queen's Park Rangers, scored 15 goals in the Premier League. He's available. Could he play with Harry Kane? No, he couldn't. They're very, very similar players. They like to play on their own up front. Very strong in possession.
Yes.
Would Charlie Austin happily sit on the bench at Tottenham? Probably not. So there's lots of questions to ask when signing players, but also I don't think Pochettino's scared of giving a youth team player, an under-21 player, an opportunity to prove themselves. We didn't take Soldado to the US.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that he's on his way to a team in Spain, either Sevilla or Villarreal.
And are you okay with that?
I love Soldado, but he's not done what he was bought to do. He was bought to score goals.
And when you don't score goals and you don't, that's kind of an issue.
No. He's a very classy player. Beautiful link-up play. But he's not the link between the midfield and the attack. He is the attack. But I would be happy to keep Soldado, and I think Soldado would be happy to stay and sit on the bench. But if Harry Kane got injured, could you rely on Soldado to score that amount of goals?
Probably
I don't think
not.
So.
No. How do you feel about Eric Lamela? I'm curious to know about that. He finished last year with 2 goals on the team, but he's been kind of, at least over here in America, he's relatively well publicized in terms of his skill. How do you view him as one that follows the team closer than most of us do over here?
Eric Lamela's an enigma. He's a YouTube highlight reel.
That's kind of how I've got the feel from him too.
Yeah, he's one of these guys where I think everybody gets excited when you get linked to a player that plays overseas, and with the wonders of modern technology, you can jump online, you can go on YouTube, you can type in Eric Lamela, and you'll get 3 minutes of goals and skills and tricks, and you go, wow, this player's got something about him. And that's all he has in a game is 3 minutes of skills and tricks. And I'm, again, being a Spurs fan, you're forever the pessimist, but you're always hopeful that the players that you have will train on. I was the guy saying, this lad Gareth Bale, he'll get there. He'll be good. Don't worry, he'll come good.
Yes.
And it took him a good 2, almost 3 seasons.
He did, but
get fit.
Once he got there, he was absolutely lights out.
Give Lamela another season. He's Argentinian. Pochettino's Argentinian. He had a better year last year than he did in his first season.
Mm-hmm.
He's now had 2 years in the Premier League. I think it's a shame that he went to the Copa America and didn't play. It would have been good to give him the summer off.
Yes, absolutely. Well, he did. Yeah, the Copa America, he was around, but like you said, he didn't do very much in the time that he was there. So he came on off the bench one time and didn't produce much.
No, he's a good, skillful player. He just needs, for the Premier League, as we've talked, he needs to bulk up a little bit, get a little bit more meat on his bones.
Exactly.
Like Gareth Bale did. I mean, Gareth Bale, when he made his breakthrough in 2010 in the Champions League, there was a game against Inter Milan where, Tottenham were down to 10 men. We were losing quite heavily. But Gareth Bale still scored a hat-trick and took on Maicon, who at the time was regarded as the greatest right-back
I definitely
in the
remember
world.
that.
And he had pace, but he didn't have power. But the next summer to the next season, he just built himself up.
Yes.
To be fast and powerful. So he couldn't get knocked off the ball. I remember watching Gareth Bale play against Norwich. He picked up the ball on the halfway line and he managed to get past a player that Norwich have called Alexander Tettey, who's a no-nonsense hard-man midfielder.
Yes.
Tettey threw in, and if Bale had gone down, it would have been a yellow card for Tettey. We would have got a free kick on the halfway line. But Bale rode the challenge, and he went on and he scored a brilliant goal. And that's what I meant by that building yourself up, and that's what Lamela needs to do. He needs to be able to not get shrugged off the ball, be able to protect the ball, but still keep that pace, that skill, that guile that he does have in him, that we've all seen him do for Roma.
And that's definitely doable, but like you said, it's going to kind of come once you get in the EPL. I feel like the shelf life in EPL is you either become a great player like a Gareth Bale, like a Wayne Rooney, where you are consistent and you're just a legend, or you are hyped up, you're around for a year or two, and then you either do produce or you don't, and then you usually get shipped off to another club. So I'm hoping that Lamela, like you said, he uses the connection with the Argentine head coach that he has there at Tottenham and is able to put some more meat on his bones, but also figure out, hey, that this league plays incredibly fast, and I need to be able to be a little bit quicker with my touches so I don't get run down and actually live up to not only what the Spurs fans think I can do, but also what I feel like he wants to obtain success as a whole for his career.
Yeah, no, agreed. That's where he needs to be, definitely.
Absolutely. All right, well, Simon, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to let you get to bed. You need to get some rest over there since it is probably almost 2:30 there for you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I've got to bit of work morning as well, so
my goodness.
Let's go get some beauty sleep.
Absolutely, right. Someone's got out of the two of us. Well, Simon Mitchell, it's been such a delight to talk to you. We got to do it again soon, sir. Don't be a stranger, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
Well, you know where I am, and I love to talk about the EPL. I love to talk about football, and you and Simon have a great show, and I share it to all of my friends and colleagues in the UK, so keep up the good work.
Well, I appreciate that, Simon. You're going to have to tell them now, too. Be like, hey, look, I'm famous. We're going to have to publicize this one, too. We got a real British man on our show this week.
Well, you can publicize all you like, but look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Sounds good, Simon. Thanks again. All right, he is Simon Mitchell, a good friend of mine, someone that we've had the pleasure of being able to become closer friends with throughout the year. I met Simon last year just over social media. I was in a World Cup fantasy soccer league with him, and it was a lot of fun. And I was like, who's this Simon guy? And we just kept talking, and he liked a lot of the writing that I did, and now here we are. So many months later, as it were. So, well, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Corey Plath is going to be here. We're going to do a quick 50-50 segment before we welcome in Real Monarchs midfielder Alex Sunderland to the program. This is Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn. No Simon Provan this week. He is off with his family celebrating the great outdoors, and will return hopefully next week as we bring back to you a normal show. So we won't have any MLS power rankings or predictions or week in review We just talked with Simon Mitchell, our good friend of ours from across the pond in Norwich, all the way from Norwich, England. He was speaking on Tottenham Hotspurs, his beloved club, and how he feels they are doing in their preseason and how he feels they will do with the upcoming EPL season as well. So it was great to talk to him and kind of get a feel for what it's like to view the MLS from a British perspective, but also how he views his team as a whole. So for those of you remembering, a few weeks ago, Simon was gone for 2 weeks out in Oregon, or however you say it. I don't know. That state out west that no one talks about except for a good college football program. Anyway, aside from that, we were to have Corey Plath join us, who joins us again on the show. So, Corey, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, anytime. Well, Corey, we're going to be doing an interview shortly with Alex Sunley of the Real Monarchs, but before we get to that, we're going to talk about our 50-50 segment. So for those people that don't know, our 50-50 segment is the part of the show where an issue in the soccer world is brought up and debated, whether it be good or bad. We both take a side. We both get 45 seconds to voice our opinion. 45 and 45 make 90, which makes a soccer match, which makes awesomeness because that's how we work here on Two Up Front. So, the topic that we'll be discussing or debating this week, Corey, is whether or not middle-aged to older-aged EPL or La Liga or wherever they came from, European stars should make the trip over to Major League Soccer. Is it good for the league? Is it not good for the league? Is it a retirement league? What's going on? So that's kind of what we're going to debate this week. Would you like to go first?
Sure, but it sounds like they're already at the Walker stage. I don't think we're that close.
They are, and actually we're getting called by Alex, so you're going to have to just wait. So
that's fine.
Don't go anywhere. Hello, Alec, are you there? Hello, Alec, are you there? Alec?
Hello?
Alec? Are you there, sir?
Hello?
Alec, hi.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
Doing very well. Good to get your call.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got this, got it all to work out here. So welcome to the show, Alec. How you doing today?
Doing very well, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It's great to speak with you again. I know we had an opportunity to chat last year as the beginning stages of your career, and now we're catching up with you again. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Of course.
So
thank you. No, thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime, man. You know that. Well, you've had a bit of a roller coaster this last few years here, Alec. You were drafted by the New England Revolution, and it looked like you were going to be, living out your dream to play in Major League Soccer. And then you got loaned out to the Rochester Rhinos and played a season for them and did relatively well. And now you find yourself in Utah. Why are you in Utah?
Yeah, it's been quite the roller coaster. That's the cool thing about, sports in general is it's always a cool journey, and before you know it, you could be on the other side of the country like I am. So, yeah, kind of got here in Utah, got lucky. I had an opportunity to actually train with Real Salt Lake when they came into California in Irvine during preseason, and talking to the head coach, Jeff, he gave me the opportunity to come train with him for a week, and showed well enough that he felt that I had potential enough to sign a contract with the Monarchs and to hopefully, make that jump up to the first team.
Have you seen any action with the first team this season yet, Alec?
I have not. So yeah, I'm actually still under a USL contract. So how it works is technically I'm not being loaned out as like I was with New England.
Oh, okay, sure, that makes complete sense then. Okay, I wasn't exactly sure how USL and everything worked out with that.
Right.
Now, for USL and Real Monarchs as a whole, you guys unfortunately haven't had the greatest year. You guys find yourself at the bottom of the Western Conference with a 2-10-6 record. For those that don't know much about the Monarchs, what's been going on this season? Has it been injuries? Has it been lack of goal scoring production? What's been the hinder of the Monarchs this year?
Yeah, so it's our inaugural season. So it's the first year of the club, and I think what it is, you just got a very diverse group. Got a lot of guys just coming straight out of college, and then I think what Real Salt Lake does a very good job of is they have an amazing academy program, and so we actually have even younger guys, even starting the age of 18, that are coming up and playing with us. So I think it's kind of tough to say that when you look at on paper how our results don't really match up to how we play, where I feel like a lot of games we've lost 1-0, just due to a little lack of inexperience in, say, in the 85th minute or so. And so for me, it's been just trying to be a leader, even though I'm still fairly young, trying to take on this team and just being there and trying to just teach a lot of these guys. Now I do have that year of being a professional that I could hopefully bring onto these guys that are a little younger. And unfortunately, the results don't pan out as much as we'd like to, as well as how we think we play.
Of course, yes.
I think we do play a very good style of soccer, and we're trying to keep to that and keep our identity. And unfortunately, it hasn't been the best, but we're still looking to find the little key pieces that over the past couple months we've already seen massive development. And so now I think the final key piece is just finding those goals and retaining that. Those
are all good things to have, especially like you said, with someone like yourself that's got a year under your belt. You get around some of those younger guys and say, hey, I might not know everything, but I've been around the block at least a little bit to help those and develop some of those players. What is life like being in the USL? It's an up and coming league. I feel that a lot of Major League Soccer fans are starting to transition over and finding that one or two teams in the USL that they really start to like. And a lot of those teams, too, are kind of feeder teams, as it were, for Major League Soccer teams. So what about the camaraderie and the atmosphere that is USL do you really like?
Yeah, so no, definitely I think you said it right on. USL is growing rapidly with expansion clubs coming up quickly. More MLS teams are starting to build a second USL team to develop guys where, I think with the loan, when I was loaned out to Rochester, New England gave me that opportunity, even though I wasn't playing games with New England.
Yes.
That I was still developing. And I think that's what the USL is doing a great job of is developing players who aren't getting enough time and keeping those guys able to stay into the mix. And it's been great. I've seen numerous cases where you do well in the USL that you now get an opportunity to get a first-team look. And I think that's what's huge, especially in this country, is building that developmental stage that I think we kind of been lacking the past decade. That USL is now really the first step in really bridging that developmental phase that young professionals can get. And especially now, you got younger academy kids who are now maybe going to college that now have a decision to potentially go straight into the professional ranks and even play for a professional team.
Exactly, and I feel like a good example of that too would be for the LA Galaxy. They seem to have struck gold a few times with some of their young development forwards, like Gyasi Zardes and Bradford Jameson as well. And it really is mind-boggling where you'll see them in USL, early in the season or a lower league, and then halfway through the year they're in Major League Soccer scoring first-team goals like it's like they've been there for years, and it's like, holy cow! It's incredible to see the transition and how certain teams prepare their players accordingly. And Real Salt Lake, especially, even when Jason Christ was there too, it's just a fantastic organization to be around as a whole. And you've got guys like Kyle Beckerman that are still anchoring the team. That you younger players coming through the ranks really get a chance to learn from, as you're able to.
Yeah, no, it's great. You got guys like Sebastian Salcedo that's played with us many times, building his confidence, getting first team minutes. Justin Glad, Fanny Kavita, all these guys that have been able to come down and who played first team minutes that have done very well and have built that confidence because of playing with us. That you got these younger players that are now, when they're going to first team minutes, have at least had 2-3 games under their belt that they feel confident enough to establish what they have done in our games into the first team. And I think that's the biggest goal for especially these USL and MLS affiliates is making sure that bridge is connecting. The relationship is very well, and I think here at RSL we've done a great job, and our coach Freddie Juarez and Jeff Cassar have done an amazing job of keeping a good relationship and a healthy relationship with one another and developing players. I think that's just the major goal that everyone's reaching, and so, yeah, it's been quite the journey so far, and I'm excited to see how far it goes.
Absolutely, yeah, and I feel that the buzz around the American soccer world is that the USL is really becoming that second tier, as it were. There's no official tier system here in America. People, will talk and say, oh, NASL is this or USL is this,
right.
But I feel like because of the affiliation with Major League Soccer clubs, USL you've almost got to give it that unofficial second division status because of how how close the relationship is. But like you said, the development is there. It's really helping grow players like yourself and other young, promising players that are looking to get to those first team minutes. Now, speaking about you just as a player as a whole, you obviously have to have some pretty lofty goals. You're playing professional soccer. If you had your option, what's your end game in your professional career? What would you love to accomplish, and or what team would you like to end up playing for if you had the opportunity to?
Yeah, definitely. So long-term goals, my biggest one is to try to make it up into a first division in Europe, whether it's in England, Norway, Germany. That I think everyone's biggest goal being here in America. The object is to try and get into Europe. So that's my big long-term goal. And while here, my minor short-term goal is to try and earn a first-team contract and play for RSL, because just me as a player, I'm a very possessive-oriented, 1-2 touch, build through the back, create chances up top, and I feel RSL has a very good organization that they pride themselves on their playing ability, and so for me, RSL is a great team that I want to see myself in the near future hopefully play for.
Which is great to say, because like you said, you want to try to do that 1-2, touch pass, and you were very regarded as a box-to-box defender. You're that type of midfielder that you go all over the place. You've got that engine that never seems to stop, and it's obviously very obvious in your playing style, your playing career, and how well you did at Cal when you were there, and just how you've done as a whole too. So, well, Alec, it's been a pleasure to speak with you again, bud. I really appreciate it, and let's do this again sometime.
Thank you again.
You're welcome, man, anytime. And one other question I had for you.
Thank you so much for having me on, and hope to hear from you soon, and take care. All the best.
Sounds good. I did have one more question for you, fast, Alec. I just remembered it. Have you had a chance to play against Rochester this season? Oh, maybe I lost him. I think I lost him. Oh, well. That's modern technology. It's a beautiful thing. I don't know. I do what I can, Corey, right? Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, well.
You're giving me this look.
Well, sometimes, you got to learn how to use your equipment.
I thought I did. I thought I knew how to use my equipment, but apparently not.
You got to bring in the professionals around here.
I guess so. I'm going to have to hire.
That's why I'm here.
There's an opening for a board operator, apparently, because all I'm good for is to put a microphone in front of me and talk.
I take it.
It doesn't pay.
Oh, well, then fine.
I can pay you in beer.
I quit. Okay, we'll talk about it.
Okay. I will give your lovely...
I'm willing to negotiate.
I'll give your lovely girlfriend a bottle of wine. And she'll be happy, which means your life will be happy, which means everybody wins.
You already won her heart.
Perfect.
It's better than I've done, and I've dated her for the last 3 years. So.
Wow. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, well, everyone loves you.
Once again, I'm not sure how I feel about that. So it is my wife and I's 2-month wedding anniversary today.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you. We had a lovely dinner outside on the patio, on the veranda.
I saw pictures on
wow.
Facebook.
You stalking me? She literally just posted those. How did you see those? You were in the studio with me.
Yeah,
you're on Facebook during the show?
Yeah, well, sometimes.
I am too. It's okay.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Well, let's do this 50-50 segment again. I'm gonna do the music again because we were so close to it. Music 50-50 segment. All right. Anyway, so the what we were talking about before we had our interview with Alex Sunley of Real Monarch. So big thanks to him, and hope that his career continues to blossom the way he feels that it might. And the general buzz about Alex Sunley as a whole is very positive.
Defender?
He's a midfielder.
Oh, I thought
he's
I
a
heard
center.
defender.
He's a center mid that's got a killer shot that never stops, basically.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I hated those guys when I played defense.
Well, he would give you nightmares.
Yeah, he would.
He's a great defender, great player, great midfielder, great attacker. Just boom.
Well, wish him the best.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we were talking about our 50-50 segment, Corey, which the way it is going is we were debating whether or not the middle-aged players, we're hearing about Frank Lampard, Andre Pirlo, Didier Drogba just came over, all those other, David Villa, those guys that are in their 30-plus that are coming to Major League Soccer. Are they making the league better? Are they not? Are they too old? What's the deal? So with 45 seconds on the clock, Corey, you will get to go first. Are you ready?
All right.
On your mark, get set, go.
Well, I do believe that those players are helping U.S. soccer as a whole. It's nice to see that it's gaining in popularity, that the U.S. Soccer itself was very minimal as far as interest. And all of a sudden, over the years, once we started gaining exposure in national team play, as well as getting these players from across the seas, that we as a nation started recognizing that soccer is a good sport to watch. It's a lot of fun to have around. And so these players have not only helped but thrived under these conditions, and it's nice to see them doing well and succeeding.
Okay. And you got to leave a few seconds on the clock there. Does that get added on to my portion? I don't think it does.
You can take it if you want to. I don't need the full 45
minutes
need the
full
to make
45.
my statement.
Fair enough. Well, I will use my full 45 seconds. So with timing and going, see, I get where you're coming from. I get that, it gives the league more excitement, but I feel that you keep bringing over all of these older players, it's only decreasing the absolute value of the league, because Major League Soccer is viewed as that unfortunate retirement league. It's like, oh, you've got Andre Pirlo. Oh, he's like, 57? No, he's not that old. He's in his late 30s. But you keep getting all these older players coming over that are far past their expiration date in European soccer. So what makes you think they're going to do any better for the league when they come over here? Sure, we're seeing success from certain players, but realistically, they're not helping the league. They're not helping players grow, and they're not challenging and widening what is the overall product that is Major League Soccer. I had 1 second left because I'm awesome.
Wow.
That's not really why I'm awesome. No, I don't know. That was a weird segment. I don't know what to do. I was thrown off because we were supposed to have the interview right away, and then we couldn't get a hold of him. And then we started to do something else, so my mind was all set for that. And then he called, and then we were all over the place. And
that was my excuse too.
I'm sure it was. That's why you left 15 seconds on the clock. So
I did not.
You had 10 seconds on the clock. Anyway, so we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we will be able to chat with Chris Blakely of Vavel USA, and also a surprise guest as well will be joining us in just a little bit. This is Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn, and I should say that again. I'm Baxter Colburn, and
this is Simon Provan.
Oh my gosh, Simon, how are you?
I'm doing great, Baxter. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I've been a little lost and a little all over the place without you here in the studio, and my wife is making fun of me of it as she's sitting here sipping her wine in the studio laughing at me. But I've been able to do the best I can with what I've had at my disposal. It was weird. I talked to Simon earlier in the show, but it wasn't you. It was the British Simon. But it was still a lot of fun, so you missed out on that. But I'm glad we're able to chat with you now, at least for a little bit. How are you doing in the great outdoors?
We are doing fantastic. So we're up in northern Wisconsin. We're doing a lot of fishing. Am I still there?
Yes, you are. You're still here.
All right. I heard a weird buzz. Anyways, we're doing a lot of fishing. That's something we love to do. My oldest daughter actually yesterday caught a nice 14.5-inch bass.
Holy cow!
So it's been good. It's been relaxing. Good to get away for a little bit, rejuvenate. Watch the kids actually play board games and not screen games.
What's that?
So that's right. You're part of the generation that probably doesn't.
I'm on the tail end of that generation. I still appreciate a good board game of Clue or Sorry or Phase 10.
Excellent. So we're doing good. haven't had a chance to watch much TV, but I got to watch a few MLS games this past weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the All-Star game, but the beautiful thing about technology is I was at least able to catch up on what all happened with Spurs, and saw that Yedlin got to play a little bit.
Yes, yeah,
saw the talk about Julian Green playing with the U23s over at Bayern instead of going on loan at this point. So those I've been keeping up with the soccer news, Baxter.
Well, good. I'm glad. I was going to say, in terms of the All-Star game, I mean, it was David Villa and Kaká that basically stole the show. Harry Kane scored a cracker of a goal that put Nick Rimando on his butt and kind of made him wish he never played soccer. It was
well, that's Harry Kane's job.
Exactly. It was an absolutely fantastic goal. As anyone that's a forward, growing up or even that plays the game now, take notes from how Harry Kane scores goals, because he does it in such a classy fashion.
Absolutely, and yeah, I read about that. He had the goal of the night with the 3 that were scored, and I'm glad to hear that he got a standing ovation from the crowd that was there. I think, again, goes to show how Americans are starting to understand this game. That they get it that, even though this guy may have put a goal in against your quote-unquote team, you still give him what he deserved, and that is a standing ovation.
Absolutely.
And applause for his exits.
Well, it was funny, too, because speaking with Simon Mitchell earlier, our resident Tottenham Spurs fan, we were chatting about the game, and he said, okay, real quick, because we were getting ready to go, and he's like, okay, real quick before we go, he's like, who is Nick Rimando? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, he made some of the best saves I have ever seen last night, and he's like, he's 5'0", he's not very big. He's like, how did he play so well? I'm like, well, that's kind of how Nick Rimando is as a whole. And he was like, he was blown away from like the first time he'd ever seen Nick Rimando. He's like, he played absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about Rimando too is when he was first with DC United, I was not impressed with him at all. His first couple of years, but then something happened where everything clicked for him. And yeah, he's one of those keepers that we've talked about on the show before. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He finally got an all-star nod. He's never been goalkeeper of the year in MLS.
Which just blows my mind.
So even being back at home here, he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. It's great to see that he gets some time with the national team under Klinsmann. Yes, you heard me right. I just complimented Klinsmann on something.
My gosh. I don't know if I might need to hang up and call you back, because I feel like I might have the wrong number.
May need to take an extra break there, huh?
I think so. My gosh, I can't handle this. This show's already been too weird as it is. You're actually complimenting Jurgen Klinsmann. That's just...
Yes. So he at least saw in Klinsmann what I think a lot of us fans have. Good to see and hear that Rimando is getting the credit that he does deserve for quite a career that he's had in MLS. And it is surprising he actually hasn't been picked up by a team over in Europe.
That is a bit surprising. I mean, and that's something that can definitely be debated for, many times. But, Rimando as a whole, though, I thought he played very well. And, the team as a whole for Major League All-Stars looked good. And it's hard to deny. Yes, Tottenham definitely controlled run of play later on in the game. They completed almost 90% of their passes, for goodness sakes, and they did the team aspect of Tottenham really came out later on in the game, because they're like, oh, we actually all play together. We're not just a bunch of thrown together players.
So I'm curious if you could fill me in, and maybe on some of the people who didn't get to watch the game, how Yedlin did. I know he entered in like the 66 minutes or around that time. How did he perform?
I'll be totally honest. I wasn't able to catch most of the second half, but from everything that I have heard from Yedlin, he did play 26 minutes. He played relatively well, but I never really heard and or saw much about his overall performance. Yeah,
because I guess Tottenham's still talking about, and pardon me if I'm repeating things that the other Simon had said, but there is reports that he's probably going to go out on loan.
That is the rumor.
Different teams.
Yes, the other Simon did not mention that. He did just kind of commend Yedlin for his play and said it was good to have an American, there, and it helped the overall camaraderie of the game in terms of from a Spurs perspective, but also an American soccer perspective. But there's not much been. The rumors are very true from what you're hearing, what you're saying about Yedlin maybe going on loan, and if does Tottenham loan him to another team in Europe, or does he go back to MLS?
Well, I'd be surprised if they sent him back to MLS. He had a great quote and this is a player who really has his head on his shoulders and understands his place in life, in which, he had said that, hey, whether I play with Tottenham or whether I go on loan, I'm fine either way. I'm a pro and I'll deal with it.
Absolutely.
Which is great to hear. To me, it'd be a little odd that Tottenham would buy him from MLS and then send him back to MLS. Now, I know there's times where teams do that. I mean, basically, that's what Seattle and Tottenham first agreed to, is that, all right, he signs with Tottenham, but then he's officially loaned back to Seattle.
Yes, yeah.
But because he had spent that year and a half with MLS after signing with Tottenham, it just seems weird to me that they would then send him back to MLS. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him perhaps with a lower league, not a lower league, but a lower level, lower table team in the Premier League, or maybe he does go out on loan to a championship team that needs the type of player that Yedlin is, whether he's playing on the wing or whether they have him playing in the back.
Yeah, it's going to be very curious to know what kind of becomes of him, especially before the EPL season does kick off here in a few weeks. But overall, though, it was a good result. David Villa, I feel like, continues to make a solid argument for why he more than likely should be the MVP this year, aside from Kai Kamara. Kai Kamara didn't do very much last night, which is a bit disappointing, but Kaká and David Villa completely stealing the show last night for the All-Stars.
Well, speaking of the All-Stars and bringing up players, from both conferences here, I will say, I don't know if you saw, there has been chatter after our show. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm taking credit for it.
No, of course not.
There's been plenty of chatter, including with the commissioner, about switching this back to an East-West format.
Yes, yep, I've heard that.
And the argument being kind of what we brought up is that, in the early days, it just wasn't that of an exciting of a game. It was more of a circus.
Yes.
And that was mainly because there really weren't 22 to 40 players that were really all-star caliber. But with the talent that's in the league, with the amount of teams that there are, and with the more and more talent that gets signed, like the Swiss international that the Philadelphia Union just signed.
Yeah, which is a huge move for
the
them.
Commissioner was saying that we're possibly back at a place where, East-West makes sense, and maybe you make that game mean something, kind of like with Major League Baseball, where the winner of the All-Star game ends up hosting MLS Cup, whatever conference that is.
I think it's definitely possible to do, but I mean, I at this point, why not? I mean, you've got enough players to certainly make it a competitive, exciting game.
You do, and as long as you make it worth something, that's always the key. And that's one of the things that I did not bring up in my argument of revamping the All-Star game, is that, going back to East-West, I think would be fun, but you got to make it worth something. And right now, other than saying, hey, cool, we beat Tottenham Hotspur in a preseason game, essentially.
That's basically what it comes down to, though.
What's that?
I said that is kind of what it comes down to, though. It's like we beat a preseason formed Tottenham Hotspurs, and that's about all you can really take away from it. It wasn't a mid-season Tottenham Hotspurs team.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point where it's almost a lose-lose situation for MLS, if you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like they beat the team and people say, oh, cool, great, you beat a preseason EPL club. Good for you.
Yeah.
Whereas if they lose, then people say, are you kidding me? You lost to a preseason EPL club?
There's no way to really win that argument.
Yeah. And I think there is an exception when you're playing somebody like Manchester United.
Absolutely.
As they did for a couple of years in a row. But nevertheless, it's cool commercially. It's still a fun idea. I mean, who doesn't love to see an all-star team play at one of the better-known EPL clubs, or if they could ever bring over a Real Madrid. I mean, they did bring over Bayern Munich last year.
They did.
But again, with Munich, you saw a team that didn't take it seriously, and Pep not understanding what that game really was about. From what I've heard, what I read coming into this, the Spurs understood that this actually was more than just a friendly. Even their head coach saying there's no such thing as a friendly there is no such thing as a friendly anymore, even with preseason games. So I think Spurs took it a bit more seriously than Munich did. I'd like to think that because of what happened last year, MLS has communicated to other teams that, hey, we're paying you this money to come over and play our All-Stars, but please understand, this is not just your ordinary preseason friendly. This is something that we take seriously, and we want you to take seriously.
Exactly, yeah. And I feel that the discussion will continue to grow further with what the All-Star Game means not only to Major League Soccer, but the soccer world as a whole, especially American soccer, over the next few months. And now that there are murmurs that, Don Garber and his posse, as it were, are going to start to think about, well, maybe we'll go back to an East-West, especially with all these new players coming in. It would be a lot of fun. And like you said, add a little bit more, flavor to it and say, all right, winner gets home field advantage in the playoffs when it comes to whatever the game is, Major League, the MLS Cup or anything of that nature. Like, you have to give the players an incentive to reason to play the game and not just, I'm going to go kick around with my buddies for 90 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, because, fans don't want to tune into that anymore. I know you look at pro footballs, what do they call their All-Star game?
The Pro Bowl, yeah, right. It's pretty boring.
The Pro Bowl, yeah, it is pretty boring, and all it becomes is defenders standing around and letting the offense go crazy.
Exactly.
And, ratings for that went up the first time they had it before the Super Bowl. But, nobody really tunes in to watch the Pro Bowl. And I feel like if you're going to continue to have an All-Star game, do something about it. Make it worth something. So it's not just something that the players are out there to have fun. It's something that the fans want to tune in and watch. And
exactly.
That's the one advantage you have. The one advantage you have right now with bringing in these more popular, worldly known clubs.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. But Simon, I'm going to let you get back to your family. Enjoy the great outdoors. Swat a few mosquitoes for me and catch another 14-inch bass, and commend your daughter for me on the great catch.
I will do that, Baxter. Thanks for calling and working me into today's show. I'm looking forward to get back into it fully with you next week.
We'll look forward to it. I'm curious to hear your new power rankings after all the craziness that has been in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, that was a crazy weekend we saw.
Absolutely.
And let me just say before you let me go,
please.
We talked about how scary it was to pick L.A. over Houston.
Yeah.
Well, that came back to bite us.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, I checked the scores, and that was the one score all weekend. I'm like, of course, that's what happened. I'm like, come on.
Of course, right.
Oh, gosh. But so much fun things to talk about with you next week. I'm looking forward to it, man. But enjoy your trip with the family. Give them my best, and we'll talk to you in studio next week.
Sounds great, Baxter. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
You're welcome. Anytime. Always a good time. Great to be able to catch up with Simon for just a little bit. Corey sitting in here as my co-host, as it were, just for the day. I feel bad you haven't been able to chat too much, Corey, but it's been a very guest-heavy show thus far, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and it's been a lot of good guests.
Well, while I'm working on getting the next guest on the air, why don't you, just how you doing? You doing good? Having a good time?
It's been a blast. I love talking about soccer. So anytime I can do it, it's always fun.
Well, good. I'm so glad that you enjoy it as much as I do. So, with that being said, we'll catch up later on in the show. We're going to talk about Jurgen Klinsmann. We're going to talk about the U.S. men's national team. I feel like there's a few bones to be picked with that and the future of U.S. men's soccer as a whole. You've got some things to say, Corey, don't you? I know that you're excited to talk about that, but we'll catch up with you later on in the show, Corey. So don't go anywhere, okay?
I'll stay tight.
I appreciate that. All right, well, with that being said, we're going to bring in Vavel USA soccer editor. Oh, just kidding. I guess not. I thought he was there, and he wasn't there. Corey, come back. I love when this happens, because then people are like, wow, this is your first time. And it's like, it basically is like my first time doing a show today, because there's been so many things that have happened that make me feel like it's my first day on the show.
Well, what's important is you got to move on.
I'm moving on. I'm going to go to a commercial because I can't even right now. That's how I feel about this show right now. I love the show. It's a lot of fun, but
it can only get better from here.
I need like one of those, like the cat hanging on the branch, like hang in there or whatever. Like I need that motivational poster up on the studio. Yeah, well. We'll be back. This is 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn. Apologies for the craziness that has been this show so far. There's been malfunctions with technology. There's been all kinds of crazy things. Corey has volunteered to be the board operator. I feel like I just need to pass the torch, Corey, and say, here, make the show sound pretty, because I apparently am not qualified to do that.
Or we could just change out a few chords and it'll work just fine.
Exactly. It's not too difficult, but it's not the equipment's fault. I feel like it's the user's fault.
In some cases, I don't think it's this case, though. You're fine.
You're fine. Oh, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. Anyway, so Corey Plath has been my co-host on and off throughout the show. You're shooing you away again, Corey, though. We'll have you back because we're going to talk U.S. men's national team in length after this next segment. So don't go anywhere, Corey. You're looking like you're going. Stop. Sit.
I'm sitting.
Sit.
I'm sitting. I'm not going anywhere.
I will staple you to the floor. That way you can't leave.
That might hurt.
Just your shoes.
I don't wear shoes right now, so
I'll staple you through your dress socks.
Oh, well, that would definitely hurt.
Well, man up.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway, we'll come back to you, Corey. Don't
Sounds
go anywhere.
good.
Anyway, with that being said, we are going to transition over to Vavel USA Soccer Division Editor Chris Blakely. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm so glad that you're actually here and not your voicemail. Oh, my gosh. I switched.
I'm much better than my voicemail.
I switched over and I was like, "Wow, Chris, you sound like a very interesting woman." But I because it was like to leave a message. I'm like, I remember Chris sounding much a deeper voice than that. But what do I know?
More masculine.
More masculine. Yeah. So I wasn't. It's like a hello. I'm like, nope, that's definitely not Chris. But it worked out. But so, Chris, welcome to the show. Corey and I have been doing all kinds of fun stuff throughout the show. So you can say hi to Corey. I don't know if you've ever met him via this way before.
I have not.
I have not. Hello, Corey.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, just heading home from a long day at work.
One of those days?
Unfortunately, just got back from vacation. I got to put in the hours now.
That's how it is. Where'd you go on vacation?
Just went down to, as you know, I live in Washington State. We just went, every year we go down to the dunes down in Oregon. We were just north of North Bend, Oregon. So,
okay.
Fun time.
Fantastic. So you were down in the dunes, and you still managed to be able to catch some of the 2015 MLS All-Star Game. Is that correct?
Of course, yeah. I got back home on a Monday night. I got to watch, sadly, due to a error, I was only able to watch the first half of the MLS All-Star Game, but that's probably about the only important part.
That's all you really needed to watch, honestly, because you didn't miss much.
Exactly.
Once it came to after halftime, there was the massive line change, as it were, and everybody was pulled, and then Josie Altidore was on the field, and then it just kind of all downhill from there. But the MLS All-Stars getting the victory, winning the game 2-1 thanks to Kaká and David Villa. So who would have believed that the two expansion clubs would have the players of the game this year? It's a little funny to think that way, but that's kind of how it worked out. What are some of your reactions about the game, Chris?
It's kind of what I expected it to be. It's the same thing every year. You got the best of the best in MLS. Some deserve to be there, some do not. I'll get into that in another time. But,
absolutely. No, I completely agree with you on that one.
I'm not really surprised, Kaká and David, they played extremely well.
David, look at you talking like you know him on a first-name basis. Like, me and David, we're bros.
I wish.
That's such an American version of David. It's David Villa.
Yeah, David, whatever. I call him David Villa, whatever you want to call him.
Villa, I don't know.
That one guy.
That one guy that scores all those goals.
It was good. I liked it. I almost called them U.S. Been watching so much U.S. national team soccer.
Right. That's I've almost done that a few times too.
The MLS, All Stars, they did what they showed how how good they are. I mean, they are the best of the best in the league, and Kaká and Villa, they showed that they're international superstars, and they're absolutely incredible. That goal by Villa, that was impressive. Don't know if it was on purpose or an accident, but it all counts the same on the score sheet. But it was a good game. It was MLS All Stars had probably controlled about the first 5 minutes, and then Tottenham finally got into the groove and
did their thing.
And honestly, if it was not for Nick Rimando, good lordy.
Oh my goodness. I was completely shocked about how well Nick Rimando played.
I've been watching him for I don't even know how long now. I really shouldn't be shocked every time I watch him play, even if it's for the U.S., for the All-Stars, for Real Salt Lake against my hometown team, the Sounders. He impresses me every time I watch him. He's a heck of a goalkeeper.
Exactly, but as much as he does impress, he still had a moment of weakness yesterday.
Yeah. How did you think the goal for Harry Kane went? What were your thoughts on that?
It was incredible. I mean, Harry Kane. I mean, I'm glad he's finally been able to, crack that starting lineup for Tottenham. He definitely deserves it.
Exactly. Get that man on the field.
Exactly. But, honestly, I mean, yes, some of that goal is on Rimando. I mean, but I don't care who you are. Nobody was going to stop that shot. That
Absolutely
was more
not.
on, in my opinion, that was more on the center backs, with Beasler slipping. I believe it was Beasler that slipped. And then Gonzalez was running backwards, which, I mean, when you get a guy of that caliber coming at you, you're in no man's land. And just that shot he put on goal was just incredible. I mean, of course, he makes the one shot that's 23 yards out from goal, but he can't make one within 6 yards. So
yeah, that is a bit questioning in that regards. It's like, okay, how do you score that far out? But then when you're on that sitter, it's just certain things like that make me just kind of go, what? But
yeah, exactly.
That's that true pace though that Harry Kane has to be able to intercept the ball at the midfield line and then absolutely just run. I believe it's Omar Gonzalez is who he's attacking, and then just pick his head up and just bomb it into that far post. I think that kind of falls into the category of things that Tim Howard could not save if Tim Howard were that goalkeeper as well, because he's pretty, he's one of those guys that, he'll save just about anything. But that pure pace, I feel like as a defender, you got to close eventually, don't you? You can't just keep backing up.
No, I agree with you. I honestly think if it was any other game, if it was a league game, a national team game, what have it, I think it would have been done differently. But due to the fact that it is an all-star game, it is technically a friendly. We don't want to see a repeat of what we saw in Portland last year with Osvaldo Alonso and Will Johnson going hard into players and possibly injuring them.
Yes.
I think it doesn't. In the end, it doesn't count. It doesn't really matter. I think he did the right thing by not really trying to go after the ball, because he doesn't want to make that mistake and accidentally, hurt Kane, because, as I've said numerous times already, the game doesn't matter.
Of course.
Count.
But at certain points, though, you don't want to get walked over. You don't want to get completely walked over each other, though, by, if you are Omar Gonzalez on the defensive side. But, and I feel like U.S. men's national team fans are maybe watching that game going, that's why he doesn't start.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like, personally, if I had a choice, which obviously I don't, but I would love to.
You don't?
Everybody's a great, what is that, couch or
armchair analyst,
quarterback or whatever, however you want to call it. Yeah, I personally like the combination of Gonzalez and Beasler as center backs. I think they play well together. But that obviously we're not here to talk about that.
Exactly.
But, MLS All-Star Game, it's fun. It's great for the fans because you get to see all the big names, and then you get to see, at least the last, would have been 10 years or so that they've been bringing international clubs over. I know earlier in the week leading up to it, they were talking about possibly going back to the old format of
West
against the East.
How do you feel about that possibility?
I'm kind of on the fence about it, to be honest with you, because yes, it's nice to see the international teams like Tottenham, Chelsea, Manchester United, AS Roma, whoever.
Yes.
But also, the league's much different than it was 10 years ago. There's enough good caliber players to have a East versus West, in my opinion. I would actually, personally, I would like to see that. There's a few other tweaks I think they could make with it here and there, but in the end, it's for the fans. I mean, you want to make sure they're happy, but I think, if you don't mind me mentioning, one of the guys I write with, Casey Splain, wrote over at Babel USA, wrote a very interesting article. He talked about the East and West, but he also talked about how, as an example, which I never even thought about it. He may be crazy, he may not agree with me, but he mentioned, let's say, his example he used is, say, if Kai Kamara was to be the the MLS All-Star MVP of the game, how about the following year the MLS game be played at the Columbus Crew Stadium?
Okay.
So
it's not a bad idea.
If they haven't already, we already know the 26th All-Star game is going to be played in San Jose at their new stadium. But let's say they hadn't decided yet. Well, with Kaká being the MVP, next year's All-Star game would be down at Orlando.
I like that.
See that happening anyways in a year or two.
It will, yeah.
It would be kind of cool to see that, because then it's like it's a different twist to it. I don't like how people are saying let's do the East versus West, and let's say if the West won, the West team, whoever makes it to the MLS Cup gets to host the game. This isn't Major League Baseball.
It's a little different when it's one game. It's not 7.
Exactly. It's a totally different. It was a dichotomy. That's the right word.
No, I completely get where you're coming from in that regards, and I do like the Kai Kamara, MVP, new host city, as it were. The All-Star game as a whole, obviously, you can take it for what it's worth. It was a good victory, but at the same time, like you said, you only can read into it so far. How did you feel, though? I'm talking about the offense as a whole. We see Jozy Altidore not do very much. We see Clint Dempsey, not do too much as well. The future of Major League Soccer is centered around players like Gyasi Zardes, Graham Zusi, even some of those other younger guys that are coming through, Ethan Finley. How do you feel like their performance as a whole was, but also what they mean to the league going forward?
Obviously, the young players coming through MLS right now is much, much better than the years past. They're so much better prepared, it seems like, especially now with all the USL, association with MLS. I unfortunately didn't get to see how Kai Kamara and Ethan Finley got to play because my recording didn't record.
Yeah, but I didn't get a chance to see that either. I know that he played the entire second half, but that's all I know.
From the highlights I saw of Kamara going down, I believe it was the left wing, left to right on your TV.
Yes.
It was some of the moves and the ball control he had. You can definitely tell he played in the Premier League, even if it was only for a season and it wasn't very long. But the kid is incredible. I've always, honestly, personally kind of liked Kamara. Even when he played for Sporting, he's always been, he has that potential. And,
Absolutely.
There's so much more potential coming through MLS right now. I would love to have seen DeAndre Yedlin, as example, stay in MLS because he's not getting any playing time. He only played 11 minutes last year.
Yeah.
So I think what's going to be best in the end for MLS, leading up to future All-Star games or whatever, even just the potential for the league, is these young players need to stay in MLS and just, yes, I know Jurgen wants them to go overseas and get better, but MLS isn't the same as it's been. It's a much better league. It's definitely, I don't think it might be in the top 10 of the world. I don't follow a bunch of leagues. I follow the Premier League, La Liga, the Bundesliga. That's about it.
I'd say that's all you really need to follow, honestly. Maybe Serie A if you're a diehard soccer fan, but even still, Serie A is not the end of the world if you don't follow. And I think like Corey and I will agree with that too. That EPL is more than likely the best of the best.
It's probably the most followed.
Yes, and then you can make an argument about La Liga probably being that second because you've got guys like Messi and Ronaldo that play their soccer there.
Definitely, most definitely. In my book, it's a top 10 league, and it's only going to get better over the years. I don't know if Garber will ever get his top league in the world. It just isn't going to happen.
I honestly don't think that's going to happen now.
I could see him creep into the top 5, but they're never going to be number 1.
It would take a mass exodus of players coming over to MLS for that to happen.
And honestly, for them to really be taken seriously, actually, I just put up an article earlier today. MLS needs to go ahead and get in line with the FIFA calendar play, essentially an August to May schedule, because in the end, it's going to be better for the league. Because right now, as an example, look at what's happening, during all the Gold Cup. Well, granted, that's not during the international dates, but World Cup qualifying. Domestic clubs in the U.S. are suffering because their best players are gone. It's great to have national team players in your team. Trust me, I'd love the heck out of it being in Seattle, having Brad Evans and Clint Dempsey representing, the country I live in, the country I was born in.
Absolutely.
Representing them on the national stage. But yet, I'm also kind of greedy because I want them to be at home. I want them to be representing the club that I spend, and I spend my hard-earned money for, to watch day in and day out.
Exactly.
Week in and week out, I should say. But, it's just hurting the league that they don't do that, because they're having, major teams, LA, RSL, Seattle, heck, even New York City FC right now, they're losing their players for national team duty, and that doesn't need to be happening. It's hurting the league more than it's helping.
And it's helped teams like, the Montreal Impact find themselves in a playoff spot right now, which just blows my mind.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Exactly. All right, well, Chris, always a pleasure, sir. I appreciate it. Where can the good people find you on social media before we let you go?
As always, on Twitter at The Real C. Blakely. That's BLAKELY. I'm usually on there. If you tweet at me, I'll tweet you back.
Awesome.
I may not agree with what I got to say, but I'll talk to you.
Hey, that's kind of how all you Seahawk fans are. I mean, and that's a whole nother thing.
Whoa.
Just kidding. Looking forward to that showdown, though, week 2. Looking forward to it. Chris Blakely, always a pleasure, sir. Enjoy your evening.
Well, I will. Thank you.
No problem. Anytime. Chris Blakely, our resident soccer editor over at Vavel USA. He and a former guest of ours, Matthew Ryan Evans, as well, who comes on the show occasionally, do a fantastic job with the soccer department over there. Go check out Vavel USA and check out the soccer department. They do a fantastic job, great coverage. Go check them out today. We're going to go to another break, Corey, and when we'll come back, Corey, you'll finally get to talk.
Hey, me.
How do you feel about that? You feeling good?
I'm very nervous now. Spent the whole segment not talking. Now,
you spent a little bit,
a little bit here, a little bit there.
I
guess I'm warmed up now.
You are. You're good to go. You got your one question in, so you're good to go. Well, we're going to go to one more break. When we come back, the U.S. men's national team is ripe for the picking. I'm starting the campaign, Corey Plath, for the next manager. Let's get Jurgen Klinsmann out of there. This is 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn, joined alongside Corey Plath. Corey, welcome back to the booth, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, you filled in marvelously a few weeks ago as my co-host while Simon Provan was on holiday. And now here you are back again because Simon is once again on holiday. I need to go on a vacation. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, how come he gets to go all over the place and you don't?
He's in Oregon, and he's up north, and I'm in Milwaukee.
Oh, Milwaukee's not terrible.
I don't mind Milwaukee. Milwaukee's fun, but
going up north is 10 times more fun.
Absolutely. I was camping this last weekend, if that counts for anything.
Well, that's better than what I did.
Yeah. What did you do?
Let's see. I went golfing.
What?
I hung out with my brother.
Oh, fun.
So that was fun.
That
was fun.
I went golfing too, actually.
Yeah.
No, we need to go.
Yeah, we do.
Golfing and foot golfing. If you haven't gone foot golfing, go check out foot golfing. It's a lot of fun. Find a foot golf course near you. Go to footgolfwhatever.com, and they've got a whole big search engine on there for you. For those of you tuning in, always a pleasure. Thank you for following us on social media at 2 Up Front Soccer and 2 Up Front on Facebook. Check us out. We are broadcasting live on Periscope. Hello to all of you on Periscope. For some of you that have been watching this whole time or go back and watch, apologies in advance. There's been a lot of not bad comments, but there's just been a lot of awkward, funny moments in between breaks that you can't hear on the air. So it's been a good time. We're having a lot of fun with it. But to wrap up this final segment, we are talking about the U.S. men's national team, Corey. They lose the third-place game. They lose the semifinal game. Is it time for Jurgen Klinsmann to be fired? Simon Provan, my normal co-host, thinks he should be fired. Do you think he should be fired, Corey?
I debate this with myself so many different times.
I think a lot of people do.
I was so impressed with the wins over Germany and the Netherlands.
Yes. I saw a great meme on Facebook today. It's U.S. men's national team during friendlies. It's a big lion like, ah! And it's U.S. men's national team in the Gold Cup. It's a little stuffed like lion that you can buy at the zoo.
Yeah.
I was like, that's very true.
It's been very frustrating as a fan to watch.
I don't
see
understand
two
what
opposite ends
happens.
of the spectrum.
How does that happen where you beat two of the best teams in the world and then you can't be a Caribbean team? No offense to Jamaica.
And we didn't even have our best players on the field against those
Why not?
teams.
That's the real question. Why not?
I don't know.
Why do the best players not play?
I don't know.
Jurgi, what are you doing?
I don't know. I still don't understand the Timmy Chandler pick.
Not many people do.
I don't understand why he's starting, and I don't even understand why he's on the team, to be quite honest. I know he's decent, but he's not good enough to play, I don't feel. And so it's very frustrating to watch things like this happen in which he's consistently in the starting lineup and he's not putting the performance together.
But according to Jurgen Klinsmann, Timmy Chandler is one of the best German-American players on the team.
That's because he's German.
Well, yeah, obviously. That's why Julian Green made the World Cup squad over Landon frickin' Donovan, but that's a whole other conversation. Why is Chris Wondolowski on the roster? That's my next question.
I don't know. It's the only reason. It's the only reason is that he can put in these little goals that are right in front.
Obviously not in the World Cup. He missed the sitter.
He can't do that.
We would have won that game.
The one thing he can do, and he
had one job.
He can't do it. It's very frustrating to see
how
all
does he
these
still
players.
Have a job?
I don't know. How does he do well in the MLS stage, but then all of a sudden in international play he can't do anything?
What about Josie Altidore?
Yeah, well, okay.
Exactly.
Good point.
Exactly.
Good point.
No, that's true. That's very true. What about Graham Zusi? What about half the players on our national team? Kyle Beckerman?
Well,
never seen a slower center defensive mid in my life.
Yeah, well, you should see some of the guys that I play with.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
It's not on the same stage, but
I was going to say it's a little different. I feel like Kyle Beckerman slow is better than any fast people that we play with.
That's probably true.
Yeah. But anyway, I do find it funny. I'm looking at the CONCACAF website here, looking at the roster, and according to the date of birth, DeAndre Yedlin hasn't been born yet.
Oh, really?
DeAndre Yedlin is born in 2,993.
Well, he's really good for that age.
Everybody else on the roster, 1997, 1985, whatever, blah, 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 blah,
1997? Who's
1987. I don't know how to read.
Okay, I was like, who's 97?
But DeAndre Yedlin was born September 7th of 2,993.
That's really good. I'm really impressed with him.
That is CONCACAF at its finest right there.
Yeah, well.
Get your act together, CONCACAF. You had one job.
Yeah, well, we all saw the Gold Cup and how that went.
Well, yeah.
From Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't even
know. No air penal, as it were. Anyway, trying to focus on some of the positives, that is, for the U.S. men's national team. Baxter Colburn here, joined by Corey Plath on Two Up Front. Do you believe in Brad Guzan? Do you believe that he actually is going to be something? Like, I know Tim Howard's planning on coming back sooner rather than later, but do you think if Tim Howard was done, do you think Brad Guzan is the goalie of the future for now, or do we need to keep looking?
Well, I believe that Tim Howard is going to take the starting position.
Yes.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I believe that this stretch in which Brad Guzan has been able to play has definitely helped him. You've seen a lot of growth, even from last year.
Yes.
And he's grown a lot of confidence, and he knows how to command the field now.
He does. He's gotten a lot more aware.
Yeah, that's very vital as a keeper, that you need to be able to know where to position people and where to instruct people to go. And so this stretch in which Tim Howard has, taken leave of absence has been very beneficial for him. As of right now, I still see him as that very solid backup, but I don't see him as
he's not good enough
starter
to dethrone the man that is Tim Howard.
Right. And unless unless it turns into a situation like Abby Wambach did, in which you take that year off and then all of a sudden you are just not at the level that you were, or even close to the level that you were. I mean, that's entirely possible. I guess we'll just have to see when Tim Howard comes back and how he performs at that time.
Absolutely. Now, I am curious, Gyasi Zardes, how do you feel about him?
Oh, my gosh. I haven't seen someone break out of nowhere in that pace in such a long time.
It's the hair. It's the blonde hair.
Well, did you hear that about that hair?
I know why he does it, yes.
That's I heard that story and I was like, oh, that's so cute.
It is. He dyes his whatever, afro, mofro, I don't know what it is. The frou-frou on the top of his head. He dyes the mohawk on the top of his head blonde so that way his grandparents can see him on the field.
That's so heartwarming.
Isn't that precious?
That's incredibly selfless of him.
It is.
You don't see many players do that. So many times it's to command attention.
It's like me, look
but
at
it's
me.
not. But it's in this case, it's a command attention for his grandparents.
Yeah.
It's not for him. So everyone look at me.
His older grandparents can keep an eye on him and say, "Oh, there he is."
And boy, do they have something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. What a
Holy
fantastic
cow.
player.
I mean, you see it at international play. You see it at MLS. You saw it at the All-Star game. I mean, so many different times you see him just making plays out of nowhere, whether it's controlling the ball.
If you are any other player on the U.S. men's national team, look and learn from Gyasi Zardes.
Yeah, and where did he come from? Like, he just popped out of nowhere.
Not necessarily.
Well,
I'm following him. He came from the LA Galaxy. He came from their academy.
Right, but, you know, it's a development thing. It's not like he was brought over like we see so many different players.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't like he was signed overseas to a team and then all of a sudden came to MLS and was this all-star. You know, it was a developmental thing, and we're seeing more and more of that now as MLS continues to grow.
And I think that with that development, you find guys like Zardes, you find guys like Graham Zusi, Matt Beasler, Omar Gonzalez. Yes, I will say that as well. I mean, Josie Altidore is technically a product of Major League Soccer. He came up through the ranks in the New York Red Bulls Academy and then did really well for them and then got shipped off to Europe and then anyway. Even DeAndre Yedlin, too. You can make an argument for that. There's a lot of good things coming from Major League Soccer that are fueling the U.S. men's national team as a whole. Now, Corey, before we wrap things up and get to our I Believe segment, I'm going to put you in the driver's seat for a moment. You have the opportunity to make a starting 11 for, let's say it's the World Cup final, and you can choose from any U.S. men's national team players on the roster. Who's your starting 11?
Oh, from anyone? Anyone's
on
available?
On this roster. Not anybody. On the current roster.
Okay. So
that way you don't have to go outside your bounds.
Right.
It'd be
I picked it solely based on
the CONCACAF
Gold Cup roster.
CONCACAF Gold Cup final. Who's your starting 11?
Well, I have Brad Guzan in goal.
Yes.
I don't think that's much of a surprise, although Nick Romano played incredible in the MLS All-Star game.
He did.
I've never seen that, competitive edge come out in him.
You should watch more RSL games.
I should. If I have time, I will. So in the defense, I have, by the way, the formations of 4-4-2.
I was asking what you were going to play. So
4-4-2.
Okay, so your four backs are?
Alvarado.
Really?
Yeah, I like what he's doing. I have to replace.
Simon would just destroy you for saying Alvarado.
Simon would disagree with a lot of things that I say.
True.
But, I don't. You have to replace Timmy Chandler. I don't.
Timmy Chandler plays on the wing.
Well.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not.
I guess I'd stick him. I stick him in the wing. To be quite honest.
Okay, continue.
Brooks, Evans, and Ream.
So Tim, Ream, and Brooks are your center backs.
Yeah.
And then who?
Evans and Alvarado.
Why?
It's very unconventional.
Why would Fabian Johnson not be in your starting 11 on the back four?
Oh, he is. He's not in the back four. He's in the line.
Plot twist. Okay, your four midfielders are
Johnson, Fabian Johnson,
of course.
Mix Diskerud,
of course.
Bradley,
of course.
And Bedoya.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Where's Where's Yedlin? You're not starting Yedlin?
No.
What kind of crap is this?
He's I don't know. I like him coming off the bench.
Okay, fair enough.
It's that boost of energy that the team needs.
Okay, who's your boost at the forward position?
Well, you have Clint Dempsey,
of course,
and the breakout player of the year, Gyasi Zardes.
Woo! I love it. That's a good batch of four, of 11 players that really have an opportunity to make a name for themselves.
Yeah,
you'd be content with that roster?
I'd be more content than I have been.
Now, why Alejandro Bedoya?
I don't know. I like the plays that I've seen from him recently.
Okay.
I still think that he needs to become a little bit more consistent because he is that hit and miss type of player.
Yes, that's kind of how Aaron Johansson is too.
Yeah, that's why he's not in the starting 11. Very key.
Gotcha.
But I think Bedoya has a lot of. I guess it was a toss-up between Zusi and Bedoya for me.
Bedoya over Zusi. If I had to pick.
Yeah.
The Mexican flair is way better than Zusi's hair.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And this is strictly from the Gold Cup roster.
Yes. It was everybody that's a whole nother Bobby Wood and Jordan Morris and blah, blah, Landon Donovan. Anyway, maybe not Landon Donovan. Anyway, it was good to see him coaching, though, for the MLS homegrown game that took place against Club America's U20s.
It was
nice to see him on the field there. I think he should coach the national team. Stick it to Klinsmann and be like, I'm the new coach.
Hashtag Plath for coach.
Plath for coach? What happened to Landon Donovan for coach?
Well, I thought you wanted me to coach.
I guess. Can I be something?
You can be the head coach. I'll be the assistant coach.
Oh, gosh. It's a lot of pressure.
Oh, well, fine. Then you can be the training boy.
Yay! As long as I can run around with the guys and shoot balls and be like, wee, soccer!
Yeah, you can be a little fanboy.
Yahoo! I'll be the water boy or something. All right, Corey, well, it's time for our I Believe segment. Which, unfortunately, we did not hear this chant very often during the Gold Cup because it's, I believe that we didn't win. I believe that our offense is terrible. I believe that Ventura Alvarado is an awful defender. It was kind of things of that nature. It's kind of what we heard. That was the chance. I don't know. I wasn't in the stadium. That's what I was assuming. A studio audience is making faces at me, but that's completely irrelevant.
It's been
a rough few months for the U.S. men's national team. So our I Believe segments, the way they work is we make I Believe statements. For example, I believe that Corey Plath is the best soccer player to ever exist. That's an example.
It's the correct example.
Yeah, I suppose, if you like that sort of thing. But we are going to make an I Believe statement about something in the soccer world. Corey, would you like to go first, sir?
I suppose so. I can make something up on the spot.
Okay, sure. And that would be?
Well, I believe that the New York City FC will make a late push run and qualify for playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know. And my I Believe segment, I believe now that Didier Drogba is in Major League Soccer playing for Montreal Impact that he will score 10 goals before the season's over because he's Didier freaking Drogba.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's going to go all AWOL.
Animal.
He is. Montreal is going to make a swoop attack into the playoffs.
Hasn't he retired like 3 different times?
I have no idea.
It's been insane.
He's a good player.
He is.
He can do what he wants.
Yeah.
YOLO, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
Come to the retirement league that is MLS.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, he's Corey Plath. Corey, thanks for joining me on the show today. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure, sir. Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, at Twitter at cplath10.
cplath10. Check him out. He tweets occasionally about things and stuff related to soccer and sports. Yeah. Always a pleasure, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you much. A big thank you to everyone that joined us on the show today. Real Monarchs midfielder Alex Sunley. We had Chris Blakely from Vavel USA. We had Simon Mitchell from England talking about the Tottenham Hotspurs. We had Simon Provan calling in from the great outdoors. And, of course, I am your host without Simon Provan, Baxter Colburn. Always a pleasure. Check us out on Fridays from 3 to 6 Eastern on Sports Radio America, Live 365, and tune in. Remember, you can download our podcast anytime on iTunes and iHeartRadio and on Spreaker.com as well. Check us out on social media, 2 Up Front on Facebook and 2 Up Front Soccer on Twitter. For everyone here at 2 Up Front, with our manager being the one above, we are 2 Up Front.